Hello, BookTube. It's Friday, and that's time for Friday Reads, where we all make videos talking about what we'll be working on this weekend, reading-wise and maybe otherwise. And I have a list of books that I want to show you. It's a short stack of books. It would ordinarily be not much more than the work of one day for me, but this isn't a usual weekend. Frida and I have a demanding house guest who will take up quite a bit of my time. I plan on getting a lot of reading done because normal humans sleep for one half of the time that they're on Earth, and I don't. But I wanted to show you these. I don't remember off the top of my head how many of them we've already seen on this channel. But these are stragglers. These are late July or early August releases, most of them, that I just haven't got to, that I'm going to clean up this weekend. The first one being a debut novel, which you know I love. This is Joshua Matson, a short film about disappointment. Our author was pressed for time and could not find an author photo in which he is smiling, but he has a pretty background. And this sounds fantastic. Let me read you a bit here. It's a novel that's told in the form of movie reviews, because the narrator is a poor schlub who writes movie review content for. Well, let me read it to you here. In the near future America, film critic Noah Bodie uploads his reviews to a content aggregator. His job is routine: watch, sieve, pan. His dreams of making his own film, free from the hackery of commercial cinema. Faced with writing about lousy movies for a website that no one reads, Noah smuggles into his work episodes from his train wreck of a life. We learn that his apartment in miniature Aleppo has been stripped of furniture after his wife ran off with his best friend, who Noah believes has possessed his body. He's in the middle of an escalating grudge match against a vending machine tycoon with a penchant for violence. And he's infatuated with a doctor who has diagnosed him with a disease of thought. Sapped by days performing the labor of entertainment, forced to voice opinions on cinema to earn his water rations, Noah is determined to create his own masterpiece, directed by and starring himself. And I like the meta elements that seem to be baked into the plot, so I'm looking forward to it. And then I think all the rest of these are nonfiction, because nonfiction is better than fiction. And the first one of those is Into the Hands of Soldiers by David Kirkpatrick, who was an on-the-ground, street-by-street, deeply embedded reporter in the turmoil of the Arab Spring, and stayed in Egypt and followed the whole procedure, the birth of it, the twisting of it, the death of it, and the rise of a military dictatorship in Egypt. This book is his story, long awaited, and the rumors that I've heard about it, I mean, by now it's had some advanced reviews. The rumors that I've heard about it make it sound very intriguing. This is the kind of reporter that you hope will write a book, so that you can learn. There are a couple of examples like that here, and one very notable not. But the advanced talk that I've heard about this book is that the Obama administration does not come off well, and that in its dithering, in handling the Arab Spring and the rise of a military dictatorship, in its handling of the military taking over the government in Egypt, and I've got to assume, since I know when the writing on this book stopped, I've got to assume that as bad as the Obama administration comes off in the course of the book, the Trump administration comes off worse. Because the Trump administration likes authoritarian dictatorships. They would like to establish one in this country, and they like them wherever they see them. They were encouraging to Sisi and the army in Egypt to crush dissent, to do away with uprisings, to do away with peaceful protests. They were encouraging all of that right from the beginning. So we shall see. It's a complicated subject because, of course, there are no good guys. The other side of the coin is the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're not exactly choir boys. So this is I've read a lot of relatively recent treatments on everything that's happened in Egypt in the last few years. And this is, I didn't know it, but this I think was the book I was waiting for. So I'm hoping it doesn't disappoint. And another one, this is another one, immersive, another work of immersive reporting on a different subject. This is The Desert and the Sea by Michael Scott Moore, who was again, a deeply knowledgeable, long-time embedded reporter on the subject of Somali pirates, on the nations and the shipping concerns that are vulnerable to them and whatnot, who then was himself abducted by Somali pirates and thought he was going to die, stayed with them for a long time, and I think, from what I've heard, there were long stretches of time during his captivity where he thought that he would never get a chance to see his loved ones or, anything like that, much less to write this book. So like Into the Hands of the Soldiers, this is, I think, going to be just an amazing revelation in the way that long-form narrative reporting can do that almost nothing else can. So two grim subjects, but I'm looking forward to reading both of them. And they've just sat around, which is not good. It's perfectly all right for me to sit around, but books are not supposed to sit around. And then we have another pair of reporters, but I suspect I am not going to like this book anywhere near as much as I will like the others. We'll see. I could end up liking this and hating the others. I will report back. This is by Casey Sherman and Dave Wedge, and it is 12. Inside the story of Tom Brady's fight for redemption. And just the subtitle, where we talk about a character's fight for redemption, gives me an idea that the table is rigged here and that this is going to be a hymn of praise to the New England Patriots quarterback, Tom Brady, who, along with his coach, Bill Belichick, and along with his team, have been implicated in well over a dozen scandals of one kind or another, cheating scandals, well over a dozen of them. And yet, after all this time and all these scandals, several of which have proof, and all the others of which have a certain veneer of reliability, after even all of that, the diehard Patriots fans are willing to say, nothing to see here. So I don't know. It strikes me from the vibe I get off this book that the authors are simply going to work from Tom Brady's own outraged protestations of his innocence and not dig any deeper than that. We shall see. The one thing that I know they're going to do if they do that, the one thing that Patriots defenders did ad nauseum 2 years ago, drives me nuts, which is to say that whatever doubts there might have been about deflated footballs or eavesdropping equipment on the field or a million other things, that whatever doubts about those things might have existed, they were put to rest when Tom Brady led the New England Patriots to rout the opposition, the Atlanta Falcons, and that pretty much solves the issue of whether or not there was any tampering. I'm hoping that these authors don't do that. I'm hoping that they don't. It's simply they have. I think they are strongly sympathetic with reporting that's been done in the Boston press that already takes that tack, and which is absolutely ridiculous. It makes me wonder. These are, people who've been out in the world. They've seen things. They've met people. They know what reality is like. And in reality, people who have no need to cheat all the time. The fact that a really, really good team with a really, really talented quarterback could then, after an accusation of cheating, go on to win a high-profile game is not proof of anything. But as you can tell, I'm invested in the subject. So I'm invested in the subject of when the downtrodden, come-from-behind, local boy hero New England Patriots became the Dallas Cowboys of the 1970s, when they became another term for institutional corruption. So that when they win a Super Bowl, as they will do a dozen more times in my lifetime, now, after this many incidents, there's no longer any doubt in my mind that their wins aren't legitimate. There's obviously cheating going on somewhere. If you cheat once and it works for you, you keep cheating. Even if there's a little bit of flap over you getting caught, you keep doing it. But the authors could change my mind. If they take that tack, they could change my mind. I read a little blurb of this slightly in advance that called Tom Brady's arc of redemption Shakespearean. I'm hoping that's not the author's idea. But and then the last one is another ripped from the headlines current affairs type thing, but by a historian rather than a reporter. This is State of Repression. This is Lisa Blade's study of Iraq under Saddam Hussein, and she apparently takes a slightly revisionist approach to the whole thing. The back of the napkin common wisdom about Saddam Hussein's Iraq is that it was a disaster waiting to happen, that it was teetering on the brink anyway, regardless of what the United States or a coalition of the willing might or might not have done. And I think this book takes the tack that that is not true, that the dictatorship could easily have survived under only slightly different circumstances. One way or another, I know this author, and I don't know her personally, but I know her writing, and I'm very looking forward to this. A lot of you are old enough to have gone through both the Gulf Wars in real time, and so any book on the subject is fascinating to me. So, and that is probably not everything, despite my my demanding house guest. I will probably end up reading more than this because these aren't long books. So we have The State of Repression. We have 12 about Tom Brady's Oedipal arc of redemption. We have The Desert and the Sea, Somali pirates. We have Into the Hands of the Soldiers about the Arab Spring and its incredibly disappointing aftermath. And we have a short film about disappointment, a debut novel about movie reviewing, I suspect, among many other things. But I'm guessing that my Friday reads will be bigger than that, or might even take a different tack than this, depending on what I get in the mail today, depending on my predilection towards Project Penguin. You remember the other day, or yesterday, I got 3 penguins in the mail, 2 Graham Greens, one of which I've only read once, Gun for Sale I've only read once, and a Penguin classic of Jakob Burckhardt's The Civilization of the Renaissance in Italy, which is calling to me to reread. so those could easily be part of Friday Reads and maybe bump one of these unfortunate books. I don't know. I will read all weekend long when I'm not attending to my demanding house guest. so I'll wrap this up for now, and maybe we'll get some mail. That would be nice later today. And God knows how long it'll take these things to upload anyway. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll come back if there are mail packages. Thank you, BookTube.